All right, boys.
No bad.
We'll come back to you on that one if you don't mind me asking.
Got some feedback on after the last podcast on kickback that we weren't positive enough. So, are you ready
No,
for
never.
Stick it in your pipe.
Well, colour me shocked. Right?
Yeah. Anybody who's
surprised,
positive at this moment in time, I mean, didn't bother listening. Just switch off. Thanks very much for downloading us, but look, didn't bother because it's not going to be rosy this time. Sorry. Like maybe actually worse than normal.
Yeah, it's not been. We're obviously recording on Wednesday because we've all got over the hump of being in a mood. Well, kind of. And we'll see how that goes going forward. But obviously,
I don't know. If I'm not any more negative than I was at this stage last week. If I'm honest, I feel like my relationship with Hearts is like some sort of domestic violence, wife beating fucking scenario where Hearts have just battered the fuck out of me so many times. I'm just desensitized to it all now. I don't hurt anymore. I'm just numb.
I don't know about that. I was actually quite positive last week going into the derby. So yeah,
It's because you're a happy clapper, though.
Been on a pretty decent run, to be honest. But yeah, obviously. And then after Wednesday night, we kind of we'll go into that because we've obviously not covered that on a podcast, and we can try and talk about that, which seems in the distant past now. But we will talk about that as well. So I was confident, and then obviously, let's just say one of the worst halves I've seen against Hibs in a long time. It's probably putting it politely.
That's fair.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously we are now being beaten off world beaters, 2 derbies, 1 in a row, world famous Proclaimers fans, however many millions of views on Twitter because of their world famous best song in football, self-prescribed song. Yeah, Hibs. Twitter's been class this week.
Anyway. I've not been on the Twitter sphere for I think since before Christmas. It's one of them. It's an absolute cesspit. And see, when I read it, it's just I feel that people get their hooks in far too easy, and I just want to go absolutely tonto and start fighting with folk, but then you can't do that because like you'll just end up fucking like in a completely bad headspace doing all that sort of stuff. So I try to stay away from it, unless of course we're fucking brilliant, in which case I'll be on it every day, laughing it all up. But when we're a bit of a tragedy, I try to stay away from it as much as possible.
Oh, even when we're brilliant, there's some takes you get on Twitter from even our own support that everyone knows.
Yeah, most of them are your shit takes. But...
I know. I try to stay away, or I'll get this podcast cancelled. To be honest, so
sooner the better, if you ask me. We should really be retired. We've been doing this for a few years now. We've had a good run. Let's just fucking pull the shutters down now. I've had enough.
No, I know.
Exactly. Put ourselves in a receivership.
No.
Hi, right. We would usually at this point talk headlines. I've not even said how are you, boys, but I think we've covered it. It's fine. But I welcome back to This Is My Story podcast. As I said, we've got 2 games to cover since we last spoke. Not really much headlines. We just kind of discussed it because it was kind of a week full of football. Nothing in between, really. The usual shite coming out in the press about mentality before games and then getting great performances on the back of it. I'm sick of seeing that, and if that could just stop, that would be great. But
what was that? Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what you mean.
Just sound bites from players saying
right,
certain things that they didn't have the right mentality and stuff. And yeah, we can all see that, but try and fucking change it, don't they?
we're miles off it. Aye, okay, cool. Yeah, we know that. Thanks, Captain Obvious. But then it's the same rhetoric that comes out every week. Right?
Yes, exactly. Well, we'll try and be positive for at least 10 minutes when we talk. A week ago today, we obviously beat St Mirren 3-1 at Tynecastle. Talking of bad halves, Kev, that first half performance against St Mirren, what was your thoughts? Yeah.
Again, well, I think if you look at, firstly, I think you look at the team. It's the team that was expected to be to go out and play. You know, there was no real surprises in the team. What the biggest surprise was this, in my opinion, was the setup given the players that we actually had. And you knew perfectly well that when you play St Mirren, no matter where you're at home or you're away, you're going to come up against a team that just give them, you know, they give their all, right? Which is, you know, 9 times out of 10, all you ask. That's the minimum you ask for. But you also know that you're going to be in a fight. And there was, in that midfield last Wednesday night, there didn't seem to be any fight or any want at all. I thought on Wednesday at halftime, I thought that was the worst half of football I'd watched virtually all season, which is quite something given what we've watched so far this season. You know,
I completely agree. But then 3 days later, no.
Hold my beer.
See, and I'll help you out. So there's probably no much point coming to me for anything to do because I was on the road last week and I ended up missing all of the. I've still not even seen the highlights. I've seen the result, but yeah, I wasn't at the game. Never seen it. Didn't bother tuning in on Hearts TV. I was a bit busy, so probably not much I can contribute in that space.
It was a bit of a strange game, to be honest. Like, first half, as we say, we just didn't look like we'd even... I was talking just a minute ago about how we were good form. We'd obviously played Rangers the week before, played pretty well at spells. We just didn't look fluid in any way, shape or form. It was simple stuff was going wrong. We had Taylor, who strikes fear in me, and that's probably even more recency bias since the weekend. We had Nunehoff and Khartoum starting, who obviously for their both first starts since, well, Khartoum joined the club and Nunehoff for however many months. Benny was, to be honest, I thought he had a great game. He was one of the sort of really positives for me. But that first goal, to be honest, it is a bit unlucky in a sense, would you say?
No.
But nope. Go on. Why was Craig Gordon at fault then, Kev? Because I was going to touch on it.
Well, I'm not saying it's Craig Gordon at fault. I think there's just a number of elements of people just not simply doing their job. You know, so from that point of view, we should never have lost the ball before. I think was it the boy John? I think his name is that put the ball in.
There was,
there's so many occasions where we could actually got rid of the ball, right, by just having a little bit of composure, a little bit of, you know, not experience, but also just having the, you know, well, sometimes we played football for any amount of years, would know perfectly well, put your foot in the ball and just make a simple pass. But everything seemed to be rushed. We never got ourselves in the right positions. People were flat-footed. There was a number of different elements from that side of things. If you stop the cross, then from that side of things, Gordon probably, you know, wouldn't be called upon because there's no danger.
Yep.
But then you take it all the way back to where Gordon then, I think to an extent, was just a little bit, I feel really bad for saying it, but he just wasn't quick enough to actually come out and narrow the angle, which then gave them the opportunity. But again, like we said only, 3 minutes ago, hold my beer because I'll do the same thing again on Sunday. But anyway, we'll come to that in time.
Aye. And to be honest with you, the one thing I spoke to my mate at halftime, and I just said, we're lucky not to be more than one down. That was my biggest takeaway because they kind of controlled it. You're right, Kev. They're a well-organised machine, as all Stephen Robinson teams are. They play the dark arts well. We had one of the most incompetent refereeing performances I've ever seen in my life.
Who was the referee?
Somebody I'd never even heard of. I can't remember his name.
I'll tell you in a second. It was a guy called, is it Ewan Anderson?
Oh, God, he's absolutely horseshit.
Oh, he's dog meat. He's proper dog meat.
And I know there's a big moment. We're going to talk about that in the second half. But it was bad for both teams. It was like, I don't know, just had to be the centre of attention, was getting everything wrong. How many VAR stops was there? At least.
There was stupid amount. But, you go back to what your first initial question around the fact that, that first half being poor. When you consider the we've changed. Right, I'm going to go back to the game against Motherwell on Boxing Day. The game against Dundee United on the 2nd of January, 3rd of January, whatever it was, and a number of games thereafter. We played a 4-4-2. Yeah, we played Kabangu and Wilson. We then had, at times, we had Grant and we had Benny, Devlin, Spittle.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to 2 years ago, even maybe last season, 3 seasons ago. Ando, what would you always say with regards to a winning team?
Didn't change it unless you absolutely have to.
Correct. Now, I understand that after the cup game at Paisley, we had to change. We had to take Devlin out because of the concussion element. So from that point of view, you should just be looking to bring one person in to fill that. Don't change the actual formation. We have all of a sudden gone to this diamond formation, which, looked, at times looked great. But when you're coming up against St Mirren, as we did last week, who had a 5-man midfield, and you're playing effectively with 3, with one guy supposedly in front of that, you're never going to win any of these battles because they're always going to have at least one man in addition. Now, that's where that to me is where you had your fundamental flaw for the beginning of the actual game itself. If you had matched up and went with a 4 in midfield, then all of a sudden they're not getting as much space. But we didn't do that. Yep. Now, I don't know. I know you sit on the concourse bit, Tam and Ando. You and I sit a wee bit higher up. I could see that.
I could see it.
I believe that a number of fans within the ground could see that. Now, that's a concern if the coach, manager, whatever you want to call him, is standing on the sideline and can't see it.
Yep.
I don't want to be negative. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but these are the kind of things that go and get your coach out, or whatever the case may be.
Question for you, Kev. Who's been our best player this season? Andy, you can answer to.
Oh.
Sorry, I thought this would be easy.
Well, I'm trying to think about who's terrible and just immediately get rid of them. And then what you're left with, you have to try and put them in some sort of rank order. It's
who's been our most consistent performer then, I'll say. My point was try to be James Penrice. It's probably been our best good player this week.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
This change of formation does not suit James Penrice.
No.
It does not.
Also fair.
This narrow midfield, having no player spell, I understand resting before the derby. You should have enough in your squad to drop one player out if you want to get him a rest or whatever. But that partnership they've got, Penrice kind of looks lost when there's no Spittle in front of him.
But again, it goes back to what I just said a minute ago. It's if you lose a player, like you take Spittle out, you bring one player in to play the same role.
Yeah.
Don't change the formation. Because again, you fall back into the whole situation that Naismith fell into, that Nielsen fell into, and no doubt other managers out with, Hearts have probably fallen into as well, is this whole square pegs, round holes. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Stop trying to get people to do things that they aren't actually trained or skilled enough to be able to do. It's like, as I said to one of the guys on Sunday, it's like asking a guy who's a plumber to effectively do a bit of joinery work. Now, he knows what he needs to do. He has that knowledge element. However, he doesn't have the final technical ability to be able to do whatever is being asked of him. It's the same idea in football.
Yeah. 100%.
Didn't they get a gynecologist to do brain surgery? That's...
there's plenty of fannies on that pitch.
Fucking hell. That wasn't even a plant as well. Well done, Tam. You're on fire today.
Aye. Right after that first half, as we say, we obviously went on to get the 3 points. And to be honest, it probably came for a bit of luck. It was a kind of hopeful ball that James Wilson, again, 17-year-old, I think he's 18 this week actually, but his composed finish, pressing the defender, making him have a mistake, and then putting it in the bottom corner. Well done to James Wilson, because it was a great finish. And there's plenty of players we've seen that are way beyond his years and wouldn't be able to have that composure in front of goal. But as I say, that kind of is when the point in the game turned, and it probably was down to St Mirren's mistaken away. But again, not to take it away for Wilson there.
Yep, agree.
Yeah. Kev, I didn't see the goal live because guess what I was doing?
Were you having a piss by any chance?
I was having a piss. I was having a piss, and I heard the music while I was in the toilet.
Right,
so...
I'm good. This is a serious question, and please take it in the manner intended. Who is the carer for who? Right? I think it's your fucking dad that looks after you more times
so
than
too,
the other way
honest,
around.
I think so too.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Bless your
but
dad.
so
what a class guy he is. There's no hard feelings to the man.
So Neuenhoff's goal, Kev. Talk me through it. I have seen it back, and again, what a finish.
He's
just as he was about to get subbed as well. To be fair,
yeah, you can start to see that he was a bit off it come that point in the second half. But yeah, I mean, he's taken it pretty well. He sold the boy an absolute dummy, pulled on his better foot, his right foot, and Hemming has got no chance whatsoever. I think you've just got to take your hat off to just having a wee bit of. Again, you go back to like what you said about Wilson. It was a bit of composure. He knew what he wanted to do with it, and to an extent, he knew he could do it. So from that point of view, yeah, it was a great goal. And probably one of the better goals that we've seen. I know Spittle's hit a couple of decent ones, especially the one he had in Europe. But collectively, I think that was a half decent finish and one of the better goals we've seen at Tynecastle. Before one of the worst things we've ever seen at Tynecastle.
I was going to get on to that actually. No, so you're right.
Set it up for you perfectly.
I do. I say it was also a good, well-worked team goal before that as well. I thought the actual football played Cabango done really well. Khartoum driving with the ball was done really well. Although I'm going to get to him because I'm not sure about him yet, but he done well for that. And took it well. But Kev, as you say, we all seen on Sunday, Jamie McCart sporting a rather large black eye.
Beauty of a shiner, wasn't it?
So Calvin Phillips, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Phillips, yeah. Anyway, Phillips with
Killian?
maybe something like that. Close enough. Don't care, really. But
This is Calvin Phillips, not like a Man City player or something, or used to be.
Yeah,
played for
you're
Leeds and then Man City.
Right. Doesn't matter. Let's just
they definitely don't have him, but I know who you mean. Yeah.
What can be described? For me, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's
100%.
100%. All of his body behind it and shoulders clashing with McCart's face. Red card, straight red card, and guess what? VAR deems that a clear and obvious mistake. That's a straight red.
I'm flabbergasted. I really am. It's an absolute. It's possibly one of the worst decisions I've seen on a football park for a long, long time. And then again, hold my beer. The guy, whatever, Michael Oliver, he went and done the same thing on Saturday at the Millwall versus Palace game. So yeah, I mean, let's be truthfully honest. You've said it there, Tam, right? The whole purpose of VAR is for two things. It is mistaken identity in a situation of whatever nature, be it a yellow, be it a red card, or handball, and it was that kind of idea, or a clear and obvious error. That was not a clear and obvious error, because if you watch that incident back, at no point does the boy Phillips look at the ball.
Yep.
Ball's up in the air. At no point does he look at that at all. Then the next thing, after he's clattered into McCart, the second thing is watch his reaction. I'm a massive advocate in regards to the player's reaction. If the ball goes out for like a by kick and you think it's a corner and you're going absolute nuts, then there is probably a good enough reason behind it. But he knew straight away what he had done, because he apologised and he went straight to McCart to make sure he was actually all right. He knew in his whole heart of what he'd actually just done. And to get away with it, now, the only thing I can say, which is a slight positive, is the fact that Robinson knew perfectly well that boy should have been sent off
Oh,
and hooked
100%.
him immediately.
Absolutely.
Immediately. And I think if you were to ask Robinson, do you think that red card should have stood in today's game? He would categorically tell you, yes, that should have been a red card because the guy had no ounce of part of him want to play the ball.
Yeah. I was going to say the exact same thing, Kev. Like, Robinson knows Tynecastle. He knows that the player was going to get penalties, but he knows for a fact that he should have been off, and that is why less than a minute later he was straight off.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that for me is the biggest telling sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about it, clear and obvious, and even you're saying it's the worst thing you've seen on a football park. That night, the same night, VAR got involved up in Dundee, where
correct.
Dalby is apparently offside. Then they can't work out if he's offside, so they decide that he's headed the ball against his arm, which.
But again, it comes back to something that Ando said in the last pod.
Whoa,
right?
What have I said this time?
No, but you mentioned in the fact that with regards to these VAR decisions, right, there is no action after the back of it. There's no action at all. What does that mean to Dundee United? Absolutely nothing, right? Dundee United actually lost the game. So from that point of view, they have lost, it was a point because I think they were drawing at that point. Or they would have got a draw, should I say, had that particular goal stood. Now, you then go and look at, okay, St Mirren got beat on Saturday, but that guy should not have been playing.
Did you know who scored?
Oh, you're joking. Was it?
Yeah.
So
it is Killian Phillips because I've double checked that it is. Yeah,
but these are the kind of things, right? These are the knock-on impacts of poor decision-making and poor officiating in Scottish football. That's what it comes down to. And
you
we
look
can
at the
talk
Hibs Celtic example, right? It's like in that whole the ball, did it cross the line, did it not, right? Now, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter to Celtic at all, right? They've won the league, right? And that's beyond a doubt. But it does matter to Hibs because they wouldn't have won that game. They'd have been 2 points less better off than they are just now. They wouldn't be in third. They'd still be in fourth. Or depending on goal difference, or whatever, potentially fifth. I don't know what the goal difference scenario is. I know
could be 10th the way the league's looking, Ando. Who knows?
Well, you know what I mean, right? So it's these things do matter, right? And while let's be honest, quite frankly, we don't give a shit whether Hibs are impacted or not. It does impact teams, and it's mediocrity, absolute mediocrity.
Yeah.
We're paying a premium for what is, and with the greatest of respect to the company, an EasyJet or a Ryanair level of service. It's not Concorde, right? Like paying Concorde prices and getting an EasyJet service.
Yeah.
It's shit.
Yeah. The clubs really have to do something. It's coming out of their back pocket. They're paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. And how if they're not getting like it, I could understand if everyone and all these decisions were, arbitrarily treated, but they're not. Right? It's how many times have we seen Colin come out and go, yeah, we got that wrong. Right, brilliant, cool. Right, magic. What are you going to do about it?
We're going to learn from it.
An acknowledgement of saying is wrong does fuck all. Like, all you're doing is just making yourself look stupid. I'd rather you said nothing at all.
Yeah.
And then for him to take what was it clearly about 4 minutes to actually make a decision on whether Vargas's goal was onside or offside. And hats off to Shankland. I caught that on the TV cameras. Hats off to him for actually giving the referee absolute pelters, telling him it was a goal and singing along with the rest of the fans. Thanks for that, because that was the only thing that kept me going at that point of the evening, because the referee had effectively drained the life out of me, which makes it strange for the actual football team draining the life out of me. But there you go.
No, spot on. And to be fair, Vargas, he's been not very composed in situations this season. Took the goal well, done really well actually, to be fair to him. And to be honest, went home that night pretty positive, good result. Into the top 6. Yeah. Anything to add off last Wednesday?
Nah, that's it.
No, not really.
No. That cool. Sunday. How are you feeling going into Sunday then? Obviously, it's easy to say with hindsight and whatnot, but
I put it in the WhatsApp community chat, right? And I know I'll get pelters because I always get pelters, but again, it's well documented. I put it in the community chat saying, I'll be honest, I don't see anything other than a Hibs victory today. It's one of them. Like it's always a coin flip game going there, right? And I know history is on our side, and we like battered them more than they battered us, and so on and so forth, and all that stuff, right? But park that for a minute. It's still, you always get the fear going to Easter Road or Parkhead or Ibrox. You just do, right? It's just it wouldn't be right if you didn't. But sometimes you can stroll into that part of town with a wee bit of swagger and go, okay, I've still got the nerves, I've still got the fear, but I'm confident that we can do something here, right? And for me on Sunday, that just wasn't there. If I look at the manner of our victories, this is, it's like when like Stevie Naismith was doing not bad and we strolled to third at a canter. You look at the way that we won those games, it's like it was never convincing. Some of them were like on a knife edge, or coin flip, coin toss, whatever you want to say. They easily could have went the other direction, and just as luck would have it, they didn't. And we came out of Dodge with a fairly successful season. But that papered over the cracks in quite a lot of regards. And this Critchley team, for me, is not really that much different. It's the same thing. It's the same faults. It's like we're not going out and destroying teams 4 or 5-0 convincingly, and all that sort of stuff. Like let's say a George Burley era team, right? I'm not making a direct comparison there, but the manner in which we've won games recently still doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, and so for that reason, I was like, nah, we're getting scorned here, and obviously look what happened.
I mean, I know we beat Dundee 6-0, right? And let's be honest,
That's an outlier, though, really.
Correct, correct. But again, if you go back to what I mentioned earlier on, you went with a 4-4-2. Everybody was playing in the position that they're actually supposed to play, and from that point of view, we've not. We've decided that actually we've just beat teams, So what we'll now do is we'll go to a 4-2-3-1, or we'll go to this sort of diamond formation in midfield and everything else, just to give guys game time. No, simply play a 4-4-2, and if one person doesn't make it and the other guys are, plays on the right hand side of midfield, then he fits in because he knows exactly what he's got to do. And this element of actually just making changes for the sake of making changes, in regards to the way in which we set up, just we're not good enough yet.
Yeah.
And I say yet, right? Because I genuinely believe with Jamestown, with future investment and everything else, I do genuinely believe we will have a product that we'll all be happy with, and we'll be seeing and getting that particular level of expectation again. However, at this moment in time, we are not quite yet there. So let's play to our strengths.
Yeah,
that's all I ask.
We've got a lot of dead wood to get rid of as well.
We do. So we have a shitload of dead wood to get rid of. But there's one thing, and I'll bring it up at after we talk about the game. But it is quite a staggering aspect in regards to the manager itself.
One thing I want to touch on there, Kev, you said about the fitting players in. So it's clearly what Critchley wants to do is fit in the front three that we're playing. Those three is the way he's want to play. But you look to the bench on Sunday there, and you compare it, and I don't want to compare us to Hibs, but the subs they made were a lot better going sort of, you're bringing on Hoylett, Gale, experienced pros that will see out a game. We're looking at our bench, we're bringing on Drameh, Vargas, whereas I would have been much more confident had you brought on either one of the three, Wilson, Shankland, or Cabangu, when the players tire it. And the drop off is just it's not. We've got a squad of 29, but
I know what you mean. You mean like you're playing your strong hand too early, almost.
Exactly.
You want to at least keep one of them in reserve to try and be like an impact sub.
Yeah.
That's where I come back to this whole element of, I can see that there is clear route that he wants to take. However, I don't yet think we have the players that are required to actually get to that level. I think we are possibly 2, maybe 3 people short. and I'll draw back to what you've said, Ando, and it's a great point, right? You go back to that, and I know we've got this particular guy in high esteem in regards to the fact that he won all of his games, bar 3 or something like that. But you look at the George Burley team. What does that George Burley team have that we do not have just now? And I'll answer that straight away rather than put a question on you guys, given the last question you asked, Ando, anyway. It's pace.
And work ethic as well. They
Yeah.
had a tangible desire to go out and absolutely destroy folk.
Yeah,
that's the biggest annoyance for me on Sunday. That Hibs team wanted it more than ours.
Exactly.
Say about.
I'm fucking glad somebody brought it up, because that was one of the things I'd written down about it. Is exactly that.
You look at the team we had the season where we had Gary Locke in charge. Team full of three pros. The rest are all under 20, under 21s that were getting a chance. That team wanted it more than this one at the weekend, and that is the most annoying thing about this. And yeah, it's just that is where it really bugs me, and that is not what being a Hearts player is about. And yeah,
that's a good point. Is that a case? I can't remember who it said it. It might have been actually Corbett the last time he was on the pod. You talk about the fact of who knew what that meant on Sunday. Maybe James Penrice, Shankland,
Craig Gordon.
Any of the Scottish players will know, right? Because the majority of those Scottish players have played, maybe not in as such a high profile game as an Edinburgh derby or an Old Firm derby, but they'll have played in a game that means something. They know what the Scottish fans want. They know, and this isn't just Hearts fans. This is Scottish football in general, right? Beating your rivals is ultimately, like, all said and done, you can have a shite season, but if you go out and beat Hibs 4 times, it's not an absolute total loss, is it? It's like it's one of them. It's the yardstick by which you measure things, because it's like we've all got jobs, you all go to work, you've all got your pals, whether they're Rangers, Celtic, or whoever. But there's nothing better than sticking it up the Hibs after a derby. It's one of my favourite things to do. Then it matters, right? And I think the Scottish players, and I'm not trying to be like xenophobic or racist or anything like that about this, but it's more of like, I think the Scottish players know what it means when you've got especially a city derby like that. And I think maybe some of the foreign players just don't have, I don't know, because they've still got derbies as well. I don't know if I'm just making shit up now, but
I will devil advocate. I thought Benny
means more, I think, to the Scottish players.
I thought Benny was probably one of the only players that got pass marks, and he was one of the only ones that was getting stuck in and looking to do anything. But I do know what you mean. I do agree. It says a lot when it's probably Benny, and the only other one that looked like they knew what it meant was James Wilson. And again, I'm going to say it, 17-year-old that has got the rest of his career ahead of him, but he was putting in whatever.
Been around the club enough to know what the rivalry against Hibs means.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a Hearts boy though as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose the other one, obviously, wasn't involved, was Devlin. Devlin's played in enough of these games now. He knows what it means to the city. He's lived in Scotland long enough now that he knows exactly how much it means.
And he's a wee bastard, so he's good in these situations.
He's a wee arsehole, isn't he? He's class.
To be honest with you, we've given
a Hearts bastard.
We've given pelters, but he was missed on Wednesday night when that first half, and then I felt again on Sunday he was missing in terms of his energy and work rate. And yeah, we kind of needed that at some points, especially in that second half on Sunday. Anyway, we've not even discussed the game yet, which feels ridiculous because we've just spent 15 minutes slating every single one of them. But the team that went out, I can't say I was disappointed or anything. I thought strong team. It's one of those things you think we've went with that diamond. He must think it works, and he's got a plan, which in the first half, Critchley did have the plan. He probably won the tactical battle in a sense against David Gray, but at the same time, we had one shot on target and we scored for it. And to be honest with you, I'll just touch on the goal now. It's a great finish, but You're not expecting to score from there. Yes. Like,
I think the keeper should get a strong enough hand to it.
Try actually, yeah. You're right.
You know, Grant, you should rightly say, Grant's put a bit of pace on it. He's got power behind that particular shot.
It's a very difficult ball to control, though.
Yeah, like 100%.
Like how many? You see a player 99 times out of 100 that's gone 25 feet out of the bar, and maybe even at the stadium. Right? Nobody ever keeps it down. Exactly. Right.
But you know what I'm saying is the fact that the fact it was actually on target. If the keeper gets any real, because of the power in it, gets anything really on it, I think it goes over the bar. You know, 100%. I think he gets. So you know, you take it. You do take it, but I think there was an awful lot of battles on Sunday that just the players just simply did not win, especially in the second half. And I understand that it will take time for Steinwender and for McCart to establish a relationship, right? I understand that that's going to take a bit of time. What I do not, however, understand is why McCart can't play a forward pass.
There was a
number of occasions on Sunday, especially in the second half, where he had the option of placing it and put it over the top, and Spittle was already making runs. You know, Wilson was already making runs. To an extent, even Shanklin was making runs into those particular pockets, and he never let it go. He held on and passed it across. Lost the opportunity. There was too many occasions with that. And I understand
that it's like a team orders thing, and not that I'm suggesting that Critchley is telling him to do that, but is it more like he maybe just doesn't understand the system yet, and then he's just making poor decisions?
I honestly don't think it's that, Ando. We've seen how quick we want to get the ball at the park in previous games, how quick we want to get out wide, how we'll miss a midfielder to get it straight up.
Yeah,
and it probably is what you've just said. Is it a case that he's not
good enough
to the level yet? Well, there is that. So I'm glad we've got more 4-year deal, but
fucking hell, he's firing shots all over the place and I can't keep up. Let's go.
But you talked about battles there, Kev. Could be more highlighted. No, I'm going to say could be more highlighted than Taylor against Boyle in that first goal.
Yeah, but then again, you can go back to say Taylor's on the wrong side, right? There's no getting away from it. But that's not Taylor's man. Taylor's not marking Boyle.
Yeah.
Taylor's out to mark Cadden. Taylor's looking at Cadden. It's whoever. I think it was McCart.
I think it was Steinbender on that occasion. He should have been over, but
exactly. Well, I thought he actually ran in front of McCart, but behind Steinwinder, and the two of them were just slow.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying about this whole. It'll take time to build a relationship.
Yeah.
But then I could see that Taylor was the wrong side of Boyle. Now, yes, I was expecting Boyle to take a dive, right? I'm sorry, but I expected him to take a dive.
Expect nothing less. He's that much a dick. Exactly.
I actually 100%. Think that Gordon was the same, and that's why Gordon stayed in his line until nearly the ball was in the back of the net. But why is Gordon not got out? Gordon's got to be screaming at the back four. What and telling them. He's the guy who's got eyes in front on that whole situation. He's got to be screaming and shouting and telling them, get goal side, whatever it may be. Giving Steinwinder, giving McCart, giving Taylor, giving every single one of them damn abuse for not doing the basics and the fundamentals. I'll go back to what I said earlier on. That's where you lost it.
Yeah. Spot on. It's just a category of errors. Like, it's all over the place. And thankfully, obviously, we've seen the quick answer back, and we did get that goal that we've touched on already with Grant. But again, that's another error from them that got us that goal with Rocky. So,
but why did that cause an error? No, I think it would cause an error because we started to move the ball quicker.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it gave us a wee kick up the arse
quicker. Yep. Correct. We moved the ball quicker. They make a mistake. We benefit from that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden we go back into our shell. Yeah.
Like you're pressing them high and hard, and you're causing the their back line to make mistakes. That's what you seen all through the first half. It's like they couldn't handle the press. They were almost running about at some stages where they're like, "Well, fuck, I don't even know what to do here," and they're just shelling long balls forward. Obviously, Boyle gets on the end of the one of them. That's the first goal. But see, after the equaliser, like for the rest, pretty much until the rest of the first half, I thought we absolutely dominated the game. We just didn't turn the screw enough.
Yeah, we actually controlled it, and it looked like we kind of rocked them. And as you just said, Ando, it was a point I was going to touch on. It wasn't actually the diamond we played in the first half. Shanklin was essentially
that's right. It was changed. Yeah.
Yep, and it was a 4-3-3, more sort of just high, wide press, put the pressure on the wing backs where Hibs have had the majority of their success this season, and
exactly
even
you're forcing them to make mistakes and take them out of their comfort zone, which is class. That's great. You just never fucking carried it on into the second half.
Yeah, like I don't think there's really much else to talk about, because as much as we just spoke about controlled and whatever, but there's nothing that really stood out in the
first half. I don't think we were ever in any real danger. If you look at like the possession stats and the shots, and controlled the game up until half time.
Yep.
It just came, obviously the second half we'll cover now, I suppose. But
yeah, it's not enough creativity again. That's again, you mentioned it earlier on, Tam. One shot on target, one goal. That's back to the bad days of under Nielsen and under Naismith. And that's something that's worrying.
Yeah, to be honest, at points it reminded me of Nielsen and Naismith, because it was very much pass centre half, next man, and it's what Critchley says he doesn't want to do. He's came out and said that, and it's just like, why is it not being translated onto the field in that game? You want to skip a man, get the ball forward, cause mistakes to happen like we've seen with Bushiri, and then it just kind of dropped off. And to be fair to David Gray, he probably tactically outfought Critchley. There's no probably about it. He did in that second half. He changed it. Hearts kind of were a bit rattled in terms of Nicky Cadden was getting the ball, Chris Cadden was getting the ball. They were getting up high and wide. There were plenty of crosses into the box, and our defence was looking the ones that were a bit weaker. And
see when you look at the Hearts team, it's a bit like the Titanic, right? You look at it and you go, "Oh, that's a cracking ship," that, until you realise there's a big fucking massive gash, gaping hole down the right hand side of it where it struck the fucking iceberg, right? That sums up the team in the second half. It's like we got absolutely exploited in that that right hand side, massive fucking holes in it, and that's what sunk us. Sorry for the fucking Titanic analogy, but it's the best way to describe it. We're so vulnerable down that flank.
There's certainly is a drop off. We've said it all season as well about this right hand side and the left hand side, and Taylor looked shook, man, for like probably that first goal. And I don't know how he's stayed on the park, to be honest, in terms of no being changed, because everyone of Hearts.
But again, see that. Let's go back to the game again at the beginning of the season against Dundee, up in Dundee. We asked him to play a position that he does not normally play. He is used to having someone in front of him that is there to actually A, support him, but B, also be that additional not just supporting and defending, but supporting going forward. That was not there on Sunday. Because again we became really, really narrow. So because we became really narrow, he was always exposed. And again, I think it goes back to an element that, well, once you start to do that, you effectively kill the boy's confidence. I mean, and I'm not deflecting away from the fact that he had a poor game. A number of players had a poor game, but I just don't think the way we set up actually benefited Taylor in any way, shape, or form.
I'd agree, but to be honest, you look at the other option. It was Forrester, and I'm not writing Forrester off just yet, but he looks a bit spooked on occasions as well. And you're putting boys under these circumstances, but the fact that the body language of Taylor, I don't know, it was zooming in on the camera and he looked like he was all over the place, and you're like, why is he not coming off? And
Well,
we're
here's a question. Well, here's a question. Okay, you take him off and you put Forrester on.
Yep.
Right. What does that do to him as an individual? Does it kill his confidence? It's one of those. To me. It's one of those situations that you either you stick by him and you continue, and after the game pull him aside and say, look, fully understand that game was way past you, but this is what you've got to expect within Scottish football. This is what you've got to expect within, to an extent, even European football, because that's the level of pressure that you get. Now, I know he comes from Costa Rica, and there will be an element of pressure there as well. But if you want to succeed in this particular continent, that's what you're going to have to effectively lift yourself up for.
Yep.
And he didn't take him off, I think, because of that particular reason.
Fair. Yeah.
And again, I'm like you. I'm not convinced by Forrester in any way, shape, or form. I fully understand. Again, he's a young lad. He was a captain of the Bees, I think, at certain points last season.
Yeah.
He's came in. He's been asked to fill a gap, and since we sold Ogie Koki in January, we are desperately short in that position. And even go back and saying there's other boys playing in the B team and everyone else that could step up. Again, you're asking a hell of a lot of a young lad to be able to go into that game and do that.
Yeah. And
not every young lad has that mentality to be able to actually succeed in such a game. It's as simple as that. And that's just the way it is.
And to be fair, Taylor is probably still a young lad as well. I believe like it's one of those things. He's
23.
Yeah.
23-year-old.
Not older than that, to be fair, but
playing his football in a totally different, totally different country. To be honest with you, I think there's an element of the fact of that. No, he's 23-year-old, mate. Sorry to give you the bad news. So 23-year-old in a totally different country. Is he fluent in English? That's these are all things that have to be taken into consideration and account.
Yep.
When we look at the way in which, or we look at performances by individuals of that kind of ilk. You look at the Australians when they first came in; they weren't that great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a full disclosure. I was away for a piss there.
All right,
what are you talking about?
We're still, to be honest, we're still talking about Taylor.
Okay.
So,
sorry if you covered this already. So we've got him with a loan with option to buy. I take it we are not going to exercise that option. And what's your thoughts about that? Sorry if you've covered it already.
Who knows? But for me, I think there's better options out there. As much as all excited we were, if you take it back to the first game of the season, how excited we were, we thought we'd had signed an absolute diamond.
We're 3/4 of the way through the season now, and he's not shown enough for me.
Obviously, he's been injured for months, but
it's a failed experiment for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So I understand where people are coming from in that one, right? I fully understand that is the case. He has played only 8 games for us, which has been 8 games. That's all he's played.
Wow.
And that includes that includes substitute appearances as well. So 8 games. That's probably actually only 6 games plus 2 subs. I'm going to go as far to say that we sign him, and that's not because I think we should.
It's not a big enough sample size, is it? It's okay, fair enough.
I'll give my explanation as to why I believe we will sign him. Not because, as I say, it's not because he's set the header alight and he's been fantastic or anything like that, right? That's just not the case. But if we weren't going to sign him, why did we not send him back to Costa Rica and back to his actual club when he was injured?
Fair.
And say, look, he's injured. We're going to send him back to Costa Rica. If he gets himself back to a level of fitness again, then he can come back in January, February, whatever it may be. But that's not what we did. We put him on a recovery setup or strategy in regards to getting him back to match fitness, getting him that level of fitness that is required. I think it's virtually already a done deal. I'm not sure of figures. Don't know what that looks like in regards to that, but it comes to me that is going to be effectively already a done deal.
Suppose we'll find out, realistically, anyway. But again, though, he stood out as a bad performance, but there was multiple all over the pitch. Sorry, so it isn't really. It was more that Nicky Cadden had. To be honest, from what I believe, he's played like that on this Hibs upturn, and his delivery's very strong. He gets up and down that wing, and we gave him all the room in the world to do it. So it was always going to cause us problems. And then, obviously, I think the boy Iredale, it's his first goal for Hibs. And to be fair to him, what a strike. But we've got our captain not closing him down because he got a silly booking earlier in the game for kicking a ball away. We've got our back five, none of them coming out.
You can understand why he kicked the ball away, because that was never a foul on a month of Sundays. But again, John Beaton being John Beaton. But no, I understand. You're right.
I'll be honest. Let's not blame. Don't blame John Beaton for that. John, 100% falls on Shanklin for that.
Yeah, it's a booking, unfortunately, and that's the rules of the game. And as far as it is really realistically, but it's not only him. You've got Khartoum in the box. You've got Steinbender in the box. You've got Taylor all standing watching the 6 foot whatever player control the ball at the edge of the box and take a shot, which fair enough is a great strike. And but
that's one of the best goals you'll see all season. It pains me to say that, but it's
for the occasion.
What a strike!
Fair enough to him, to be honest. And
that wee pube will never score a better goal in the rest of his career. End of. He's hit his peak.
And what about the reaction for Hearts, though? Well done, boys. What a great reaction we had. We completely reacted to going 2-1 down. Exactly. Where was the fucking reaction? We went 2-1 down, and we done exactly what we done for the rest of the half. Well done, Hearts. Well done.
I don't think their keeper has a save to make in the second half.
There was not a single shot on target from Hearts in the second half.
Yeah.
From the goal.
That to me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't remember Gordon making many saves, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't remember him. I don't remember it like, you look at the Motherwell game back at Boxing Day and other games where you go, Gordon's made a really good save there. And I know there's a massive, discussion point around, do we go with Gordon, do we go with Clark, blah, blah, blah. But there's not a situation where you go, that was a great save and has kept us in the game, for example. There was nothing. Do you know what I mean? In front of either goal, there was virtually hee-haw. The difference is that, yes, they got their goals, they went on, they won the game, fine, let's move on. Friday night, massive.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I think we've covered the game. I'm happy to move on for it. But
I tried to set that one up for you, Tam.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that, mate.
I appreciate that. What I do want to know, and it is a big game Friday. Friday is massive. Like another opportunity, a trip to Hampden. Opportunity to play in either St Johnstone or Livy in a semi-final at Hampden. And what I would like to touch on, and I've seen a lot of, we talked about it earlier, about hot takes on Twitter about Critchley and about certain things, but there's a lot of notice about how he's performed in what could be considered the big games of the season against your Old Firm, your Hibs, your Aberdeen, and the European games, for example. Well, the only one that was really big was the Petrol Cup one. Yeah, exactly. So what do you think is going wrong there? What does he kind of need to do? He's getting these results against what would be perceived, and I was going to say no disrespect, but come on, I don't care. The teams we should be beating. So, like, what is going on that he can't realistically? He hasn't won any of these big games yet, has he?
Nope, not a single game. And the only thing I can think of why is he starts to overthink these games.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think.
Does he think more about the opposition than he does think?
Correct. He falls into what I class as Nielsen syndrome. More concerned about the opposition than actually what his team can do. And from that point of view, you go back to, you look at the game against Dundee away, move the ball quickly, get up the park. Look at the game, look at other games where we've been successful in regards to moving the ball,
Yep.
That's the simplicity of it all. Football is a simple and easy game.
Agree.
I'll give you.
It feels like it.
I was going to say I'll give you my opinion on this.
Absolutely.
I'll strip it right back to he is an English League 2 jobber at best.
There is that.
I can't disagree with that.
Come at me. Come at me. Anybody in the Twitter sphere, kick like whatever, right? Is if I'm being honest, and I said this at the time, and again, it's easy to sit here and say I said this at the time. Go back and listen. I did say this at the time. He is not a big enough. Doesn't have enough charisma for the role. If, as far as I'm concerned, he is. Okay, fair enough. I know he's had high profile coaching jobs with bigger teams or whatever. But again, said this at the time. What has he done? Nothing. Right? He is an unproven League 2, English League 2 jobber at best. I think playing the likes of wee diddy teams like St Mirren and Kilmarnock and Dundee, okay, fine, that's probably his level. Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hibs, it's too much of a jump. I think I don't think he has that big team or big game mentality, and that's my opinion. End off.
It's hard to say. He has turned around my opinion from when he was first hired, and I do think there is a coach there, as you've said. But when you touched on there about the charisma,
is there a big game manager though?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's hard to say without knowing, but I just can't see how he can motivate a team. And it's hard. I'm not writing him off just yet.
It's the same reason, right? Stop. I don't want to go off on a tangent too much, right? It's the same reason that Gareth Southgate, right? Like England manager. England were never going to win a fucking thing with Gareth Southgate. Can you imagine him giving a halftime team to, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Like, mate, even your reflection gets fucking bored and walks away when you look in the mirror. Like you're like a completely uninspirational, monotoned arse. Right? And I'm not saying Critchley is exactly the same, but he's not far short of that. It's like I can't imagine.
Not monotoned.
No, I just can't imagine like Critchley being able to say anything from a motivational point of view that's going to get me. You know what? There's the hill I'm going to fucking die on for you, right? You know what I mean? I'm quite willing to get your back in battle. Like I just don't see it. But again, I'm not a football player. You know what I mean? Again, I'm basing this on absolutely nothing at all apart from how I see him conduct himself in interviews. Like even that pitch that he came out with on the Sky coverage on Sunday is that, oh well, may the best team win. What the fuck is that? Shut up, man. Be quiet. Don't say stuff like that.
Fair.
Say nothing at all. I'd rather you give a one-word answer and didn't elaborate rather than coming out with some pish like that with a wee smirk in your face. Twat. Anyway, right, I know I'll catch you for this, like I always do. Right, so address your concerns to. I'm giving you a very narrow opinion based on a heat of the moment because it's still fucking raw from Sunday. Let's not kid on. I know it's Wednesday night now, but it's still just one of them. I'm just blowing off some steam. So, you can come at me at the end of the season and say, "I Ando, you're a fucking idiot." but
gladly will. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I'll chuck an extra spanner in your works, Tam. He loses on Friday.
It's a different story for me there, Kev.
So is that it? That's the. Is that the possible?
It's not it. It's not it. I'm not saying that's it, but I think if he loses on Friday and doesn't get us in the top 6, that is it for me. Because that's just unacceptable.
So that is, but then, so.
But
are we at risk?
An
right?
unacceptable season, because I don't think they will.
You know what? I completely understand, right? I absolutely, completely understand why you would say that. But, and again, to be devil's advocate, because we fucking love a devil's advocate in this program. Program. That's a new one. Holy shit! It's normally a show. We're not supposed to calling it a fucking program now. Fucking hell. I've lost my train of thought and I've completely derailed myself. So he's not had a full season. He's had one transfer window. He's inherited a bloated squad that was basically employed most of it through someone else. To the same point where I said just 5 minutes ago that I'm not writing off. I'm pissed off with him, and I think the way he handles himself and carries himself is just a bit crap. But if we were to sack him because he doesn't hit the top 6, bearing in mind what he inherited, and doesn't get us to the cup final, I don't know, because if we continue doing that, are we not just at risk of becoming the fucking Hibs of 2 or 3 years ago when you get somebody in for a month and then just sack him because he's pish? It's like, I don't know. I think it's too soon. He needs more time, and I'm normally the first one to call for it.
Yeah.
That then is interesting, and I think, Tom, I think you're probably. I'm already maybe in that boat. Is that he hasn't won a big game yet. Friday becomes huge, as you rightly say, but also then the 4 games that we've got between now and the end of the season before the split, and that's 2 games at home and 2 games away. Your 2 games at home are Ross County and Dundee United. You have to pick up maximum points. Your 2 games away is Celtic. You're getting nothing, right?
No.
I'm just telling you now, it's not happening, right? The other game, and this is the game before the split, last game before the split, is away at Motherwell, who had a really good result on Saturday, Sunday, whenever Saturday.
Motherwell's always a tough game, man.
Correct, right? So you could be looking at that game on the 12th of April. You could be looking at that game as being the most important game. Do you feel, right, and this is to both of you, do you feel at this moment in time, and I know what's happened on Sunday is still fresh in your mind, but if you were in a situation where you're going into that game having to win to maintain or have a chance of a top 6 position, do you feel confident that he has the ability to do that?
I still do.
So you're saying that we are going into that game either top 6 or have the ability to get a top 6 position?
I don't know where we'll be or what we'll be, but I think I would still have confidence in us winning that game at this point in time.
Tough one. It's a tough one, because I think you look at the opposition. What did you say? It was Motherwell.
Yeah.
Like that. Let's be honest. Small time, small town, small team, shite club. So, if we fucking beat Motherwell, no bother. If it had been against Rangers or Celtic, Aberdeen, and Hibs, then that's where he comes a cropper. Given the exact scenario, I would fancy him to beat fucking Motherwell, because they're absolutely shit. So
they've had a decent result on Saturday, and their next 4 games.
Our result against Rangers even worse, by the way. I'm just
100%.
Their games are at home to St Mirren, away at Aberdeen, away at Kilmarnock, at home to us. That's their 4 games before the end and before the split. I'm telling you, I'm not. You've then Dundee United are only 5 points ahead of us. Dundee United's their games are a Dundee derby. Well, Dundee aren't playing, in the league anyway, aren't playing greatly. Then they've got Ross County away, us at Tynecastle, and then they've got a home game against St Johnstone. I'm not going to lie, guys. I don't see top 6.
What I would say,
you can come at me.
I would say we just need to concentrate on ourselves. As you said, I think 9 points out of the 12, that should be the goal. 12 probably should be the goal, but let's be realistic. 9 out of those 4, we get 9, we'll probably be there, and that should be the goal.
Okay,
regardless.
I understand where you're coming from. I just think if you look at that Motherwell team at the moment, really starting to fight for each other, which is something we've already just commented on in the last 20 minutes that we don't have. But then you start to look at, well, they've got home to St Mirren. You'd actually go as far to say they could beat St Mirren. Away to Aberdeen. Well, Aberdeen aren't in any great shakes at this moment in time. Could they pick up points there? Yeah, of course they could. Whereas we're going to go to Parkhead that weekend. Then all of a sudden you've got a gap. Kilmarnock, down at Kilmarnock, where you just don't know what you're going to get with them. And then you've got us. I genuinely am worried that we will not make top 6 because of the fact that we're playing at the moment.
I see if I'm being brutally honest. I think I've deep down, now that we're talking about it, I think I've already written off top 6.
To be fair, I had a month, 2 months ago.
I'm not going to lie.
Get this season over and let's move on. So yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'll take 11th and winning the cup. I think that's the only good thing that I can actually see.
You're fucking mad bastard. However, I agree completely.
Yeah, we'd all take that, dude.
Right.
Yeah. There we go. And everybody says we're actually depressed on this show. Or programme, as now Ando's calling it. Look, I'm not going to lie. I think we've just actually nailed it.
Right, let's get about depression then. Friday night, under the lights, live on Premier Sports. Score predictions.
Is it not on the BBC if it's Friday night?
No,
Premier.
Unfortunately, no. I'm away for the weekend, and
I cancelled my subscription because Hearts weren't on it, and I found it. There's another 15 quid they're going to rinse out of me, that bastards.
Don't do it. I'll tell you something after this.
Is it? In fact, Kev's only just learned about fire sticks. Everyone.
I was going to say, no one on the and just for full clarity, no one on this podcast works for Premier Sports, so you're absolutely fine.
No, if you sign up for the STV player, you'll get it directly through that, free of charge.
Oh,
so there you go.
What?
I just had an advert for it the other night there. Saying if you sign up online for the STV player, they have an agreement this weekend that they're going to show both Premier Sports games live on their digital media. So there you go.
I only watch it on the computer on an iPad or my phone or something. To be fair, I don't mind doing that.
Do it if you've got a smart TV. You'll be able to get the app on your TV.
Oh fuck! I never thought of that. All right, well, thank you, Kev. Good knowledge there. Love it. Strong.
And for anybody else listening, you can thank me with a pint at the bar. Cheers.
Well done, Kev. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, Ando.
Yes.
Thoughts. Score predictions.
Sorry. Okay, Friday. Fuck. Well, it's Dundee. We steamrolled them 6-0. This will be a horrible, turgid affair. It will be. I don't know why. I've got a feeling it's going to be fucking high scoring. It's going to be something ridiculous, like 4-3 Hearts.
Don't know if I could handle that, to be honest. But I.
Well, it's Friday night. You can drink heavily and worry about work on Monday.
I'm down your way for Friday to Monday. I'm in.
I wish you hadn't told me that. I'll be waiting for you at the fucking train station.
Well, I'm in Bamborough, so it's a wee bit out of the way. But
that's all. I'll drive. Mate, it doesn't take me long to get to Bamborough. I'll drive up to Bamborough and give you a ruddy good slap.
Well, okay. I'll be waiting. So I am missing the game, unfortunately. But Kev, I'm sure you'll be there. What are your thoughts?
I think Ando's right. I don't agree with the high scoring element. I do think it'll be tight. I think it'll be fairly. It's like when we actually are on TV, we seem to play pretty shit. So from that point of view, I wouldn't be surprised to see it being a draw after 90 minutes, but hopefully edge it in an injury time or extra time, should I say, 2-1. But at the end of the day, all we ask for is to be, our name to be in the hat for the next round. That's all it's about. It's not about performances. It's not about anything. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net more often than they do.
Yeah. Enough. Right. I forgetting that I need to do it as well. So I actually think we went 2-0. We're going to be positive. So there we go.
There we go. End the podcast there. Right. And anybody who comes at us to say that we're negative and everything else, no, listen to that last 5 seconds and you'll be all right.
No, didn't ask, don't care, move on.
Right. Pleasure as always, boys. We will speak next week when we will either be in more of a mood or we will be looking forward to a trip to Hampden in April. So yes,
we can only go upwards, really, can't we?
Exactly.
Actually, no, we can definitely go downwards, but no, fuck it. Right, I'll just shut up now. Sound.
When it gets to June and we've got that championship playoff, Ando, I'm going to clip it.
And that's fair. I'm here for that.
Anyway,
right, boys.
Right, nice one. See you later.
Okay. See you later.
See you later.
Bye bye.